Now I know some of you guys look at the title of this video and immediately go, Nick, are you insane? Yes, I am. But that's not the point. Today I want to pit my two favorite Christmas horror films up against each other and crown one winner. So let's do it. Black Christmas versus Black Christmas. Hey, what's up everybody? It's Nick here from the Lost River Drive-In, and tonight I wanted to talk about Black Christmas 1974 versus Black Christmas 2006. Now, I said at the top, I know that some people are going to see that title and just hear this premise and immediately go, well, it's no contest. And in some ways you're right, and in other ways you're not. I want to, right from the top, just say I'm not going to be addressing Black Christmas 2019. One, because it's not even really a Black Christmas movie. It has nothing to do with the original story. They're not connected whatsoever. On top of that, you guys know I don't like that movie, and I just think it's a corny look to continue to dump on something you don't like unless asked about it. So for a multitude of reasons, I'm not including that. This is the original versus the remake, and which one is the quintessential Christmas horror movie? Now, your definition of the quintessential horror movie is going to be different for every person, but I think each movie has its pros and cons and reasons why you could say it is the quintessential movie. Starting with the 1974 Black Christmas, it is absolutely a classic, there's no question about it. Much like a movie that it inspired just a few years later, Halloween, it was a movie that was not met with a lot of fanfare and critical acclaim when it came out. It kind of flew under the radar, and the ways that it did make headlines were more or less people trying to boycott the movie and cancel the movie because of its source material. But it wasn't something that just had grabbed audiences around the world. It was a movie that took years to really gain its cult classic status and become a movie now that you as a horror fan and myself watch every year. Black Christmas 1974 is a movie that is genuinely bone-chilling, and there's not a lot of movies in my life that I can say that about. I remember the first time I saw this movie and what it did to me and like how I felt about it. Knowing that this movie came out in 1974, hearing some of the things that Billy says on the phone, they're truly like disgusting, and you'd almost expect to hear somebody say them nowadays, not in 1974, almost 50 years ago. The idea that the person is inside the house the entire time, you think that, oh, if I have strength in numbers, or I don't go anywhere, or I lock the doors and the windows and have a cop outside, that you're going to be safe. All the while this person is in the house. That's a terrifying concept. It really, really is, because it doesn't matter what protection you have outside or on your doors, they're already there. And you don't know. And there's no way you could know. And I just think that that is a really terrifying concept. I think Olivia Hussey's performance is actually like, nowadays people respect it, but for the longest time I feel like it gets underrated and underappreciated. I think she is super good in this movie. Margot Kidder is super good in this movie. There's a lot about this movie that brings you in. Not only is the premise great, but I think the lead performances in the movie are also great. Bob Clark, being a guy who also directed A Christmas Story, he's got an eye for Christmas, whether it's the music, the decor, the way you frame certain shots, being able to desaturate colors to make things look colder, or just the way you shoot it to make it look that way. It comes across on screen in this movie. It is just truly a treat to look at. And especially with some of the more recent transfers we've gotten over the years, the movie just looks gorgeous. It holds up to this day, and I cannot stress enough how important that is to me when it comes to holiday horror. Looking and feeling like the holiday that you're taking place around. Black Christmas 1974 absolutely does that. The movie's a slow build. It's a slow burn. I've never understood when I've heard somebody say something like, oh, Halloween is my favorite movie. But I actually didn't really care for Black Christmas. Because for me, I'm just like, they're very similar. Like, let's call a spade a spade. Halloween probably doesn't happen without Black Christmas. It was clearly influenced by that film. It is the same tone, the same pace. It is what it is. So I don't understand how you can love one and not the other, but again, different strokes for different folks. I love the slow burn of this movie. I love the build in this movie. I think that it makes, especially once you know that everything is happening inside this house and you know these characters are doomed and you're just waiting for that to happen, it makes the tension palpable. Because at any moment you think that shit could totally hit the fan. So you're kind of waiting on pins and needles. I think the movie does a great job building to its climax and then having this ambiguous climax that also makes you worry about the fate of your final girl. I think that all of that's brilliant. There's honestly nothing I would change about Black Christmas 1974. Absolutely nothing. Having said all of that, it is kind of a drab watch at times because when you think of Christmas movies, what do you think about? Joy and cheer and, it's part of the holiday. And Black Christmas 1974 is not joyful. It is not cheerful at all. And it's intentionally supposed to be that way. It is a Christmas movie that makes you almost not enjoy Christmas time. And I personally love that. But there are people who don't. And for those people, I give you Black Christmas 2006, better known as Black Xmas. I can vividly remember when this movie was about to come out and seeing the trailers and the poster on Yahoo Movies and actually being really intrigued by that and wanting to go see it. I was 12 years old. I couldn't go see it by myself, and I didn't have anybody that was going to go see it with me. So I didn't see it in theaters. But I remember just being like kind of awestruck that holy crap, they're making a Christmas horror movie that is coming out like right at Christmas. That's wild. Like, that just seems wrong. And that's the point. Looking back in hindsight, I love that. But as a teenager, preteen, I was like, this is so weird. Like, what does this mean? Like, Christmas is supposed to be joyful. Again, not always the case. Black Christmas 2006 is a movie that I rented when it came out not long after its theatrical run. And I fell in love with the movie. There was never a moment where I did not enjoy this movie. For many different reasons. Black Christmas 2006 gives the original movie a facelift in a lot of ways. It kind of spins things on its head, things that you're not expecting. It's not just Billy this time. There's also somebody else. It's not this, slow burn, suspenseful thriller. No, it is a blood-soaked, gore-fest, action-packed movie. That's what Black Christmas 2006 is. Having said that, it does take away what made the original so effective. There's almost no suspense in this movie. There's almost no real scares. And at times, things are definitely over the top. So when you're comparing the two and you're saying, what is the better movie? It's Black Christmas 1974, hands down. It's far scarier, far more impactful, and just more well made. It does what it's aiming to do incredibly well. On a technical level, it's just a better movie. But let me make a case for Black Christmas 2006, because this is a movie that I do love for the reasons I just named. Yeah, it's full of gore. It's action-packed. There's hardly any suspense, if any at all. I love that. Black Christmas 2006 leaned into what was popular at the time and what was going to sell tickets. And what was a way to remake this movie and modernize it without being a total bastardization of the original film. Let's make it different. Let's get a bunch of attractive women in a sorority house and let's just kill them all in super heinous ways. But with that, they lean into the Christmas aesthetic and the music and the weather just gorgeously. There are deaths or aftermaths of deaths that include strands of lights, icicles, you name it. Cookie cutters, Christmas cookie cutters. That's knowing what you're trying to do and doing it right. Black Christmas 2006 absolutely does that. It knows what it is. It's not trying to be that original movie. It is something entirely different. The movie is way over the top. The movie is a movie that you will walk away from this movie probably going, holy crap, like that was wild. And I think that was always the desired outcome. Now, those pluses for me might be negatives for other people. Sometimes your pro is another person's con and vice versa. For me, knowing what I already had with the original film and knowing we were getting a remake, I wanted to see something different. Especially the time it came out, the mid to late 2000s. This is what horror movies looked like. So it's kind of a product of its time. But I've got to give a shout out to Glenn Morgan. Because say what you will about some of the story elements in this movie, say what you will, I genuinely think that this guy delivered on what he wanted to do, utilizing Christmas in your movie so heavily. From the opening shot, it just screams Christmas. I mean, you cannot deny that. And I think that's the right impulse to have. And if you're going to be an over-the-top holiday slasher, you need to sell it. I mean, completely sell out for it. In the sense of use everything around you to your advantage. And Glenn Morgan does that in this movie. You know, it really kind of hurt. It sucked. It hurt to hear him say that if he wasn't going to direct again, if this movie bombed. And then recently he has said that he didn't know so many people enjoyed this movie in retrospect, and that makes him really happy. And that makes me happy too, because it's one of those fine lines you walk with remaking a classic film, that you know you're going to get backlash no matter what for just doing it, daring to do it. Especially when you take that classic film and its tone and its story and kind of flip it on its head, you're really going to get some backlash. But there's a lot of people nowadays that really like this movie because it is everything I said and more. This movie's not a movie that you get the family together and you go, hey kids, you know, let's watch Black Christmas 2006. But neither is 1974 for very different reasons. They're both incredibly disturbing in very different ways. They're both incredibly effective at what they're trying to do, which are two separate things. But above all else, these two movies stand above any other Christmas horror film for me because they just feel, look, and sound like Christmas. And I think that that's what you've got to do first and foremost. Everything else is secondary. The movie's called Black Christmas. It better be a Black Christmas. And both of these movies are, just in very different ways. So what's the final verdict? What's the better movie? What's the quintessential Christmas horror film? Well, Black Christmas 1974 is a better movie. It is just a better movie. There's not even an argument, I think, for the inverse. But Black Christmas 2006 is way more fun. But that's not a knock on 74, because 74 is not trying to be fun. So like I said at the beginning, where everybody's definition of their quintessential horror film is different. If your quintessential holiday horror film is one that makes the holiday feel just wrong and unsettles you and disturbs you, it's 1974. If your quintessential holiday horror film is a holiday horror film that makes you just, I don't know, jolly and cheerful with depraved glee, and you just want to have fun and enjoy 90 minutes of just breakneck slasher action, 2006 is your movie. For me, personally, I think the greatest Christmas horror film of all time is Black Christmas 1974. But my favorite is Black Christmas 2006 because of all the reasons that I stated. It's just so damn fun. So I guess maybe the title of this video is misleading because I made a case for both in very different ways. And maybe I hedged my bets by saying, well, one's better, but one I have more fun with, I guess. So either way, gun to my head, it's kind of hard to choose between the two of them. But I have a lot more fun with 06 because it's just a fun, dumb movie. And that is the one that I gravitate towards. Having said that, I watch 74 every year as well because it is a bona fide classic and I love the movie. But it's not a movie for the faint of heart. It's truly not. If you're paying attention to it, it's disturbing. It really, really is. And it's beautiful for that. So I don't know, guys. I gave love to both. I gave reasons for both. But I want to hear down below. And you can use my criteria. I think most of us, if not all of us, would agree that 74 is a better movie. Period. Point blank. It's a classic. It's super important to horror film history. But some of you might like 06 better for some of the reasons I mentioned. So discuss them down below in the comments with me. Let's talk. I can't wait to see who has the balls to say, you know what, yeah, 06 is my favorite. Comment down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I hope you guys are having a happy, healthy, and safe holiday season thus far. I hope it continues. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year, whatever it is you're celebrating. I hope it's going well for you guys. Or if you're not celebrating at all, I hope it's going well for you.